Sweet, right? So it's 50 cents. Super awesome. Anyway, guys, all right, so cool. I teased you guys a little bit, telling you that I had something really, really big to share with you guys. That the headspace that Bali has put me in, not just Bali, but my time with my Kung Fu teacher up in the mountains of Bali. So that was basically just me, my teacher, and a photographer in the mountains of Bali, waterfalls, jungle, forest, lakes. It was incredible. And then that was the first week. And the second week was not secluded, but a pretty like super quiet beach. Again, with just my teacher and a photographer, learning Kung Fu, training Kung Fu, focusing on Kung Fu. It was amazing. But even aside from that, Bali has just like a really, really amazing way of grounding me, or to use my terminology, it really connects me to my spirit. And so what I mean by that is my thinking, my decision making, my actions, the way I interact with myself, with nature, with other people, it all flows through me totally organically. Westerners would call this flow state, or being in the zone, where just you're not trying to do anything, but yet everything you're doing is just absolutely perfect and with extreme confidence. There is no emotion in the moment. It is literally just whatever energy is coming through you and whatever energy is coming out of you is literally to perfection and effortlessly. And that's how I've been spending several hours a day, pretty much every day, since I've been here in Bali. And through this deep thinking, this state of mind, I've really come up with the vision for NOVAEO, the path, the thing that we are going to build for this world, the thing that I am signing up my life to build for this world. And that is, well, massive. It's going to be hard to communicate. So let me start with the really, really fun parts. We're basically going to build an empire, a modern day empire. I'm not talking about some cute metaphorical word, empire. I'm talking about a legitimate empire, something that is going to get so powerful, so massive, so inspiring that we are going to challenge the power structures that exist today. Power structures being countries, billionaires, whatever it be, the highest level of power structures. We are going to challenge that. We are going to influence that. We're going to change the world and ultimately heal the world through us. So how it's all going to start. We already have NOVAEO. Now, to use my Taoist philosophy that I've been studying for years now, which is tapped into the Kung Fu that I'm learning, Taoists are the ones that created the concept or the paradigm of yin and yang. So basically, to look at the world, it's basically the nature of physics. Everything in nature boils down to yin and yang, or yin and yang. So basically, it's looking at the world through binary, through ones and zeros, through positive and negative, through masculine and feminine. And that is ultimately what we are going to do to frame us. NOVAEO is our yang. Yang is the animation energy. Yang is what executes. It's what does the action. It is, in electricity, in chi, can be thought of as the current. It's what powers the devices when we plug something into the wall. Yin, that is what I'm going to talk to you about today. That is the container. It is, again, in electricity, in chi, it is the magnetic field that guides the chi. Without yin, yang just goes everywhere and ultimately isn't able to create action because it just disperses everywhere. Yin is the magnetic field that contains the yang energy into what I like to say like a laser beam, a focused, intentional, energetic stream by creating that magnetic field that pushes or pulls the yang energy. Yang is the masculine, yin is the feminine. yang is the positive, yang is the negative. It is yin is the negative. It is the ground. NOVAEO is our yang. It is the execution network. It is what does. It is what's going to build and create. Our power structure, our organizational structure that we are still evolving into, because we humans aren't quite ready for the most idealistic structure quite yet. But what we're building into is a totally decentralized system of organizational structure and power, meaning there is no chain of command. There's no pyramid like in the corporate world. Right now I like to think of it as we have a nucleus, which is ultimately like me and Derek and certain others, that we're just a nucleus. Like we are the visionaries, the strategists, the leaders, and then there's rings around that. But eventually we want to get NOVAEO to the point where it is totally dispersed. The power structures that are created are going to be organically created through project ideas, people signing up for the projects, signing up into different roles. And so you'll still have the leaders and stuff like that, but the projects will have a start date and basically a starting line and a finishing line. And when the creation is finished, it disperses, and those energies, i.e. the people that made up that project, i.e. the pod, disperse and go on to join into other pods to create more for the world. That's NOVAEO. Now again, it's going to take a while to actually build that power structure, that organizational structure, because that requires such a massive level of autonomy, of self-regulating individuals, where we don't have emotions like jealousy and all kinds of things that steer us, laziness, these kinds of negative things that steer us away from being fully autonomous. All of us, including myself, we need a kick in the ass sometimes. We need direction, all kinds of stuff. So we're not there yet, but that is the idealistic goal. Now what I'm going to talk to you about is building the yin, the container that governs the direction of that energy. So it's all going to start with us building a kingdom, and this circles us back around to the empire that we're going to build. So where I'm at right now is I'm looking for either a boutique resort or a really bomb-ass villa here in Bali to rent during the last few months of this year. It'll be somewhere in the timeline of mid-August to basically beginning of December. So that'll give us about 3 months to test this concept. This resort is going to be built on the concepts of holistic well-being and absolute laser focus. In fact, I made a bit of a word cloud. I'm still working on this. Here. You guys can see my work setup. Pretty cool, right? I drink a lot of stuff. This is kratom, water with minerals in it, some kind of Bali tea that, I don't know, basically just looks like a bunch of sticks, but the color's cool. And I put natural sweet monk fruit in there to make it taste delicious. And then juice, which in the US, this would probably cost delivered, probably like $70, $80. Here it's $8. Crazy, right? So you guys will see how I'm starting to become a bit of an artist myself. Craft paper, calligraphy pens, all that. And I'm starting to channel my thoughts through, I guess these are called word clouds. So this is the one I want to show you. Okay. Oh, damn it. Let's see. How do I... Maybe you can see through it? That kind of works. That's kind of funny. Here, let's try this. All right, you can see some of them. I'll send a photo to the channel. All right, cool. So anyway, these are the emotions, these are the words that surface that will basically, our space, our kingdom will be reflective of. So here, it's gonna be easier for me if I just read some to you. Tao. Tao is essentially nature. It is the laws of nature. It's not God, but in Taoism, it is their spirituality, because a Christian God is a creator. In Taoism, there is no creator, it just is, and that is the Tao. And the very first line of the Tao Te Ching, translated to English, is the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. Meaning, literally humans can't even interpret or understand the Tao, but we do the best that we can. So I love that, because it's like, yeah, we don't know what the fuck is actually going on, so the people that pretend like they actually do know are creating power structures and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, I don't want to get super religious. So some words that will help explain this space, this kingdom that we're creating, this bomb-ass villa, which, oh, by the way, so yeah, we're testing it with these few months here in Bali. If it all goes well, which I'm pretty certain it will, this whole idea, then we're going to look to actually buy and build. And it might not be Bali, as much as I love it here in Bali. The Indonesian government, from what I understand, is a huge pain in the ass to work with. And we don't want to build something incredible and then have to bail. So I'm actually hearing that Thailand, specifically Koh Phangan, might be the spot for us. So I haven't been there in quite a long time. I've heard it's changed a lot since I've been there, but I'll probably trek it there for like a week and really check things out and see if that would be a better opportunity for us. But nonetheless, Southeast Asia is the idea. I think it has the traditional energy that we need. This whole concept of yin and yang. So NOVAEO is the modern, it's the technology, it's that aspect of who we need to be, what we need to embody, and how we need to be in order to animate our ideas. We need to then have our yin in traditional power structures and schools of thought, and that is the kingdom, that is the empire. And I believe the strongest empires really were built in this area of the world. I mean, I guess it's not totally true. You have like the Roman Empire and the Persian Empire, but the Persian Empire was destroyed by Genghis Khan. So yeah, there you go. So there's something about the energy here in Southeast Asia, and honestly, the affordability of it as well, because as I go into this, you're gonna see what I mean about how we're gonna need to make sure that things are quite affordable for us. And again, the energy for me personally, it's so perfect, and they have a deep-rooted understanding of traditional wellness and leadership roles. I don't know. It's going to be Southeast Asia somewhere, at least initially. Eventually, we're going to, once we're challenging power structures that exist, we're probably going to have to buy our own island, just so we can not have to be captive to any kind of country by being in their land. So anyway, back to some words. So empowerment, joy, radiate, nature, share, soft strength, happiness, wu wei. Wu wei is the Taoist term for a flow state or being in the zone. It's actually what brought me to Taoism. When I was like a 9-year-old kid playing sports, I was getting in the zone playing my different sports. And the fact that no Westerner could explain what being in the zone was, that's what pushed me to trying to seek elsewhere. And then I came across the concept of Wu Wei. Wu Wei was that was most studied by Taoists, and boom, that's how my interest in Taoism was created. Grounding, duty, again, laser-like focus. This is not going to be a resort where we can just go and lounge and kick back, get drunk and party and do all that shit. No, this is a place where we're going to live comfortably. There will be a level of pampering, but not for the sake of luxury. It's so that all of our focus is channeled into guiding our creation. So we will have cooks. We will have basically a full-time staff provided to us at our headquarters, at our resort, at our kingdom, just so that we can eat, sleep, and breathe our duties. And our duties are not just to this kingdom or to NOVAEO. Our duties are to ourselves, first and foremost, ourselves, growing ourselves, balancing ourselves, ensuring our own vitality, our own wellness, our growth in general as humans and our balance as humans. So our duties are to ourselves, obviously to each other, to the people of the world, and to nature. Those are our duties, and we will eat, sleep, and breathe our duties. While anyone is at this kingdom, that is what you're doing. We aren't. Maybe we'll go off on some like adventures and stuff on occasion because humans need breaks and just kind of like pattern interrupts in thought and all. But that's not. It really is a place of focus, and so to help us focus, that's where this the thought of having like resort living is at its best. Because I've been doing that myself here in Bali. I've stayed at a couple of resorts, I'm not talking big ass beach clubs and like party resorts and Mai Tais and pina coladas. No, I mean like little boutique resorts, like 9 to 15 bedrooms right on a beach where, you're like eating breakfast with the same people. It's a bunch of surfers or yogis or, whatever, all just like super peaceful. You don't put on a pair of shoes or a shirt the entire time you're there. That's what we're looking at renting, and that's eventually what we would end up building. So anyway, more words for you. Creation, inspiration, and then I put inspiration from nature, from each other, and from self. Spirit, harmony, yin and yang, love fueling growth. Chi, which I wrote. Oh yeah, you can't. It doesn't work. I tried to write the Chinese character for Chi. Definitely not good at that. Healing, give. You guys get the picture. So, what this is going to initially be is we're going to set up the space. A couple of us, probably very few of us, will be there full time during this entire duration, or as much as possible, because that's more about setting up the space, creating the space, hiring the staff, these kinds of things. After that, it's going to be basically, okay, what is the number one thing that NOVAEO needs to focus on right now for the biggest impact on our growth and our value creation? All of those people that are part of that project, or whatever it ends up being, if it's like Amazon marketing in general, if it's like product launching, if it's whatever, supply chain, whatever it is, we bring as many people as able. I know this is short notice, and I know people have families, so there will never be an issue where if you can't go, you're going to be forced to go. It's never going to be like that, ever. But those people that are going to be part of that laser-like focus for that week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever the course may be, we're going to fly them in and stay at the resort. And again, it's not party time. It's laser-like focus time. And we're going to eat, sleep, and breathe that chunk of whatever needs to be done inside NOVAEO for next steps. Because NOVAEO has been really inefficient energetically. We have so many ideas, so much excitement for the ideas, that we're constantly starting stuff and then never really finishing it because we're not able to bring things to a finish line because it takes a long time to do and things are therefore evolving along the way. And this is a result of my brain, and then got amplified with Derek's brain, because this is how our brains operate. Derek and I are on the same page now that laser-like focus is the solution for how to take us from where we're at today to literally challenging countries and billionaires and owning our own island and all that shit. It's not going to be achieved with the same way we've been doing things. So bringing in the teams, bringing in the pods, whatever it is that we're focusing on, eat, sleep, and breathe that, while also maintaining our duties. Duty to self. Duty to self is you guys are going to learn more about how to take care of yourselves. Take care of your mind, your body, your emotions, your mental state, all these things. And honestly, it'll be mostly from an Eastern school of thought, or I guess maybe like the New Agey Western stuff, which is kind of like offshoots of the Eastern combined with Western physics, and then about 99% marketing. So we're going to remove that 99% marketing and left with the 1% of valuable New Agey shit. That is going to be the framework that we're going to operate in to understand how to be dutiful to yourself and ultimately to others and to nature. And then obviously there's the duties to NOVAEO, with a big focus on what is NOVAEO doing for the world. So anyway, that's going to be how we're going to utilize the resort during these first few test months. So even if it's like, all right, let's build some serious advertising funnels, and we have people from the US that we need, high-powered like freelancers, people that aren't necessarily in the NOVAEO team or the NOVAEO community. Fuck it, we'll fly them out business class. Let's get them there. Let's focus, laser focus. Let's make shit really happen. I know what I can do with about 30 minutes of being in Wu Wei, that flow state. It is more than what I can do in a week with not being in Wu Wei, and I'm serious about that. Channeled energy to where everything is just one focal point. And honestly, I've already known this for a while, but my Kung Fu training is like, that's the metaphor. Those little tiny guys are able to do these massive punches and kicks, and like take down big guys and all that shit because they channel all of their intention, all of their energy into one little point. That, it's pretty good metaphor for how we can also do that with our minds in creation. Artists, really gifted artists, they aren't thinking about what they're doing, they just do. So anyway, that's how these first few months of running this kingdom is gonna be. Our road ahead during these months is, right now, NOVAEO isn't really doing a significant amount for the world in reality. We are basically growing consumerism. And even those skincare products, like, we're doing health and wellness products. So, when I started all this shit, I had good intentions, but I've grown and I start to realize, like, there's more shit that you can do. So it is great to create health and wellness products for people, but we are still promoting consumerism, which to an extent is, totally fine. But it's like, do people really need all this shit? So I love the aspect that, like, we can sell people 5, face products of skincare and then teach them how to go through like a really nice, skincare routine where they're taking time, they're breathing while they're doing it, they're, massaging their face, all that. That's fantastic. But at the end of the day, we want to get far beyond, consumerism, selling, health and wellness product brands, all that stuff. But in order to actually achieve what we're going to achieve, we cannot take on investors, because as soon as you take on an investor, you now owe a legal fiduciary duty, is the term, to your investors. Meaning, every action that you take within the company has to be for the purpose of benefiting the investor. Meaning, every action that you take within the company has to be for the purpose of profit. 100%. So we can't do that. And in fact, so many entrepreneurs, I was just talking to Derek about this, so many entrepreneurs that talk about how they want to do good for the world through entrepreneurialism, which I think is awesome, are full of shit because they take on investors, and therefore what they're really doing is trying to build profit, and what they're really coming from is they want to be seen or thought of as doing good for the world. It's an ego play. They would not, if they were given 2 opportunities by a magical genie or something, and they said, look, you can pick one or the other. I will, rid the world of cancer, war, poverty, whatever it is that the person's focused on, and you're going to be the channel through which it happens, but somebody else is going to get all of the credit. Or I will rid the world of all that shit, and you won't really have to do much, but you're going to get all the credit, and no one will ever second guess, ever. You're going to go down in history for being the person, and not a single human will ever challenge that fact, ever. Only you will know, and I will know that that's not how it happened. Most entrepreneurs that are saying, I'm going to do good for the world, are going to go with the latter. I know so many of them. I'm positive of it. And I see how they build their business. I see how they market. I see it all. Now, in general, if you can line up your ego to do good for the world, then that's like better than 99.9%. So I don't shit on these people, but I am aware of what's truly going on. We're going to be different. We're going to truly do good for the world. Everything that is coming through me, I don't give 2 shits if I get the credit for it. Now, I am the person to build it, so I have to be the person to build it, but I don't give 2 shits about the ego side of it. I need some tea. Oh, that's good. Actually, I'm gonna pause for a second. I'll be right back, guys. All right, cool. Nice little break. Good old stand-up king, man. I love this thing. Like my setup, I got my kratom, my juice, my Bali tea with natural sweet monk fruit. And, oh man, these flowers, they come from this tree, which doesn't really even look like the sexiest tree alive. But can you see some of the flowers? I don't know if you can or not. But they, every morning when I wake up, basically, when the sun's coming up, I wake up before the sun. But as the sun's coming up, I go and scoop up a bunch that fell to the ground, and I just like, put them all over the place. I put them, those brown chairs out there, they look really good on that because as they like age, like throughout the day, they start getting a little bit of that brown on there, which really just like makes them look even more awesome. And then I always like have them around my workspace. That's what I'm talking about, inspiration through nature. I will teach you guys this. For those of you that are like, man, I will never be like that. No, you will. You will learn how to create an environment that inspires you, and every human has a connection to nature, even if you don't know it. In fact, a lot of this thinking that I'm telling you guys now, or not really thinking, more like, I don't know, just shit was flowing through me, happened while I was like just spinning this around and just looking into it, and then occasionally smelling it because they smell awesome. Love these things. Yeah, I gotta figure out what that tree is. We're definitely gonna need to have that tree wherever we set up our true kingdom. And then check this out. Got this from Amazon actually. So it's a electric resin burner or diffuser or whatever. So that's also part about setting up your environment. Make your place smell awesome, make sure it's clean, have some inspiring stuff around you to look at, have cool lighting, candle light's the best. Yeah, awesome. All right, anyway, stop making me forget where I was. I was talking about our next steps for NOVAEO, how to be able to fund ourselves. It's still through the product brands at this point in time. So right now we're working on our product launch strategy so that ultimately what we want to do is any product we come up with within brands that already exist, we can just run it through this templated process. Everyone knows their duty, and it just flows through. It's all built on timeline, it's all dependable, just flows through straight into value creation. That's step one. This was step one of Project Phoenix. Step two is to be able to do the same thing, but at the brand level, so that anytime we come up with a new brand idea, we can run it through the pipeline. So basically, we're just going to build on top of what we have. That is the NOVAEO way, is we look at what we have, and then we add the next step. We just keep on building on top of it, building on top. Well, not even building on top, because remember, it's the nucleus right now. We keep on stacking wherever we want to build, wherever we see the value. You know, we have a manufacturing warehouse. We can build out that into an additional value adder as by taking on clients. You know, we have creative team that we're building. We have marketing. We have all these things that we can build out. But anyway, right now, focus is to finish our product launch system, to add into it the brand launching system, and primarily this is through Amazon still, and then to add on to it the off Amazon building so that we can run our brands and through our products through like ad funnels, outreach funnels, even like retail, you know, brick and mortar. We're expanding, you know, into, well, the next focus is going to be Latin American countries. I also keep on hearing how good it would be to get into Asian countries right now. I hear they're growing fast too. So we're just gonna keep on building. But initially, focus is product launching and then brand launching and then off Amazon marketing growth so that we can run product and brand launching through that aspect as well. That's the primary stuff. We build just that and get it templated process. We can easily get to being like probably like a $50 million business. And even though we don't intend to like sell off our value, it allows for us to work with bigger and bigger, you know, partners, bigger and bigger companies. It allows for us to get more and more loan money, which, you know, we are fine with taking on loans because then we don't owe a fiduciary responsibility. So on, and it attracts like, you know, really big talent and stuff like that. So valuation ultimately does matter. So anyway, that's the immediate, and that's going to be the focus during these few months of being with our setting up our like temporary kingdom, our test kingdom in Bali. I feel very confident that this is going to be awesome, and so we're then going to want to start looking into building, buying and building. And again, it might be Thailand, it might be Bali, and I mean, I'm going to check out other areas too. I was also told to check out some areas in Malaysia. So, you know, I'll be checking out a lot of stuff, but yeah, I don't know, something about Copenhagen, when that was mentioned to me, I was like already kind of feeling Copenhagen. So I don't know, it might end up there. But nonetheless, what is the bigger picture? It's like I said, it's not product brands. What are we really trying to do? So the change the world angle is to show the world that people can organize in a different way. So not the government way, not the corporate model way. I'm talking about the decentralized structure. People can organize in a different way to create value and in a system that puts the individual first. That's how we're going to truly impact the world. In order to do that, we have to build our voice. In order to build our voice, we have to build success, value. We have to radiate. We have to not only build a big community of people that are going to operate this, but we have to radiate so much that other people are following us, and other entrepreneurs are like, man, they're really making it work, and that just sounds awesome. So I want to do the same thing. Bigger businesses are going to start losing their people to these smaller businesses that are basically absorbing the top talent because their model, their organizational structure is so much better for the individual. That's how we're ultimately changing the world. Our product, if you want to call it that is our kingdom. What is our kingdom producing? What is NOVAEO animating? Is the best way to think of it is blanking on the name. I gotta pause, hold on. Incubator. An incubator for creators. So artists, creative-minded people, we are going to provide them room in our space, our kingdom, our super wellness-oriented, laser beam focus-oriented, super inspiring, both because of the space, the nature that's around it, and us as individuals that are inhabiting it are all going to be mega inspiring. We're all going to be our very best versions of ourselves. That is going to be a massive aspect of this. Whoever is staying at the resort, you are coming as the very best version of yourself, and it's not necessarily that you have to try to, it's that it's just going to be inspired out of you, and then you're going to radiate and you're going to cause other people to also be the very best version of themselves. We are going to find creators that we believe in, that are doing something good for this world or have an insanely gifted skill or talent to share with this world, and we are going to bring them into our space, allow them to work on their art, their creation, provide them guidance, and then ultimately, if need be, if it's not a business in itself, my brain will get translated into helping them learn how to monetize it, or we will actually monetize it for them. And that'll be part of how we build our finances so that we can scale to build to become what we need to become. So when I say artists, I mean it could literally be anything from like singers to painters to whatever, but obviously also artistically minded or creative minded entrepreneurs. So most entrepreneurs, despite the fact that they are creating a business, they are not, in my mind, creators. They're not innovators. A very small fraction of entrepreneurs are truly innovators. Most entrepreneurs are opportunists, or they are just following the leader. They're seeing what works for other people and they are trying to duplicate it. They're following the same marketing strategies, or like even just like the product or the service. They're just following the market. They're opportunists. That's not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about people with new ideas to share with the world that are going to make the world better in some way, shape, or form. We will bring them into our space and allow for them to work on those ideas, provide guidance, provide resources, and help them build that. And that will be part of whatever it is that they're building will be part of our kingdom. It'll be part of our NOVAEO ecosystem. So we will be, a strong force in that idea so that we can scale it and so that we can radiate it and so that we can actually turn it from idea that's going to do something good for this world into something that actually is doing something good for this world. Does this make sense? So that's the end goal, this creator incubator. On like the business side, I guess. On the philosophical side and on the political side, it's to get so big and to create such a badass internal structure, a paradigm of that, like a model that focuses on the individual's growth, their wellness, their balance. Because as of today, in order to achieve in most employment structures, almost all of them, you have to sacrifice your health, This is starting to change, but your geography. So because of COVID, more people are getting online, but as we're seeing, a lot of that is starting to get absorbed back into the office. So people sacrifice their health. They're sitting at a desk all day. They don't have time. They're stressed all the fucking time. They're sacrificing their geography. Because they're sacrificing so much of their time, they're sacrificing their relationships, whether it's with their family, with their friends, ultimately with themselves. And at the end of the day, they're not even passionate about what they're doing. We are going to create a structure in which people can always have choice. They move into projects that they want to be in, that they're going to create passion in. Because passionate people are the most effective people, right? So anyway, we're going to change things from the artistic level, from the philosophical level, from the political level, all of it. And that's what my brain's good for. I'm interested in all that stuff. I'm interested in politics, into philosophy, into art, into creation, into spirituality, into, all the things that like Marcus Aurelius was a student in: mathematics, economics. He was like Marcus Aurelius. You guys know him from like Gladiator maybe, but he was known for being an extremely effective and well-rounded leader. He was a general. He could bring people into war. He was what's that phrase? I don't know, good at war. All of it. That's the person that I'm going to be continuing to grow myself into. Not specifically Marcus Aurelius, but this well-rounded person that understands how all things operate, and to create inspiration for you guys. When you guys are inspired, you guys are going to inspire me. It's going to be this full circle effect. We're going to then inspire the world, and it's all going to start with this kingdom. So this kingdom, if NOVAEO is our yang, we will, it is our modern, it is our tech-oriented. We have to create our yin. I don't know what the name of this brand is going to be, this kingdom. It won't be NOVAEO. It'll have to be something different in order to stick to the concept of polarity or binary. It'll be something that's more rooted in traditional and probably Eastern. So that's the big news, guys. It's going to be sweet. It's definitely going to be sweet. And timelines for all this stuff, it kind of just depends. It depends on us. It depends on our execution of the small stuff. Even the smallest details, that's where it all starts. Execution of smallest details efficiently and effectively translate into building bigger and bigger system. The bigger the systems that we build, the faster we can move into the more glorious, most awesome, stuff that we could possibly create. But a little bit more flour. All right, guys. I think that's pretty much it. I think I covered it. Thanks for listening. All right, you know what? I could have expanded on something a bit more. So, the business side of the empire, I touched on it. We will provide the space for creators, but what we'll also be doing is obviously creating internally ourselves, and so that ultimately we have this ecosystem where we have this, this mother entity that is NOVAEO, this parent entity, this core entity. Not sure what terminology I like best yet, and then fuck tons of sub entities that are totally different businesses. Could be anything from our e-commerce stuff to the US government sourcing contract business that will start probably in the next 2 years, to real estate ventures, to literally anything. Because that's the thing about what we're building from an organizational structure and cultural perspective, is this model can be used in any function of organization, not even just business. Any function of organization. So eventually we're just going to have tons and tons and tons of businesses, entities that are basically incentivized to work together. So if we have a product brand, the product brand is the entity. It needs social media marketing. It needs advertisement funnels. It needs creatives created, like blog articles, shit like that, brand development. So it could hire out of the ecosystem and hire creative agencies. It could hire social media marketing agencies. It could hire whatever. But instead, it's going to be incentivized. And I don't want to get into the details of the incentivization here, but it's already been mapped out. I already have the solution. It'll be incentivized to work with the creative agency that we already have in the ecosystem, with the social media marketing agency that we already have in the ecosystem. So, and that's how it's all going to be. So not every single entity is going to need to use every single other entity, but there'll be this like constellation like stars, or like connect the dots kind of thing going on, kind of like how a brain works. It has the different what are those points called, and then it fires the neurons between them. Fuck, man, I'm really blanking on a lot of words today, but you guys get what I mean. So like even the creative agency is going to need advertising funnels and marketing in order to attract clients, so that we have this massive ecosystem that some of the systems or some of the entities themselves create profit by themselves. Well, not by themselves, but like through a means of selling to customers. So the product brands. Some are service oriented. So those services will be provided, by like a creative agency is a service oriented business. So the product brand uses the creative agency in order to produce profit by selling to the customer. But the creative agency will produce profit by attracting clients. And in fact, we would even have like an agency or whatever, an entity whose job it is to just bring clients into the ecosystem, because once we attract one client for one purpose, it'll be easy to push that client around to using other aspects of our entities inside of our ecosystem. So we will create these internally ourselves. Derek is actually going to be moving into basically like more of a business development role, in which our really big value producers, our ideas for new entities, he will take the lead on creating, and then do a handoff to some leadership once that entity gets to a certain level, and then he'll focus on another one. We will acquire some if we find other businesses that would be great fits for us. We will work with the owners in order to acquire them. And so every little one of these functions of our business, the manufacturing warehouse that we have, our customer engagement team, our social media, all these things we're going to separate into separate entities so that they can be, and then we'll establish basically like a CEO or whatever. I don't like the phrase CEO, but for lack of other terminology, like establish a CEO whose job it is to monetize outside of the ecosystem, bring in clients. So what ends up happening is we have this system where resources, aka money, come in, but it never leaves, because it's going to be a vertically integrated ecosystem. The ecosystem will be able to provide everything that anything inside the ecosystem needs. Now, it won't be 100% true all the time, but once we see a lot of money leaving the ecosystem for a specific service, then we will build or acquire that service and bring it into the ecosystem and then scale it. So for example, there will come a time when we want to start selling our product brands. We can sell a product brand for once we build our Project Phoenix model and give it 18 months, we'll be able to sell some of our product brands for $20 million. So, which by the way, at that point, it's okay, bonuses galore for everyone. But more importantly is that gives us money to keep on creating more and more. So when we hire brokers to sell those product brands, they absorb anywhere from 10 to 20% of sale. So fuck that. We don't want to give away, 10, when I say 10 to 20%, we don't want to give away $2 to $4 million to a broker. Let's poach one. Find some brokerage agency where some guy that's good at his job but isn't happy or is being undervalued or whatever. And let's be like, hey man, why don't you create a brokerage agency we'll back you, create it inside of our ecosystem, and then you'll have these like 10 product brands to start selling over the next few years. So this is what your income trajectory can look like. And then meanwhile, NOVAEO, the core entity, has significant ownership in everything. So it won't have 100% ownership in everything because through acquisitions and through incentives for these high-powered leaders that we're going to need, it won't have 100% ownership in everything, but it'll have a significant amount. That's how we build this massive, massive kingdom of the ecosystem, of the business entities. So, every single artist that I talked about before, every single creator, those will be little entities, which means one of the more important agencies that we need to build and what we're working on right now is a PR agency, public relations agency. So like, how do we build awareness about like a person? We're now experimenting that. Brandon is like the guinea pig of that. It's the test subject. So we are learning how to basically do PR, how to build PR, and we're going to then build a PR agency that can then do the PR for the artists and the creators that we bring in, as well as it'll be an incentive for us to attract top talent. For us to get these like super duper high level CEOs, one of our perks can be like, look, join us, and you're going to have this PR agency build your personal brand for free. How would you like to have 500,000 followers or 1 million followers for free? You own your own personal brand. Because the thought there is that the bigger the voices of all of the individuals in our ecosystem, in our kingdom, the significantly even more amplified our collective voice is. So even though each individual will have their own personality and their own things that they want to speak on and do for the world, collectively we'll all be talking about the kingdom, the ecosystem, NOVAEO, the problems with the world, the solutions for those problems with the world. So we're going to be really amplifying our voice through the PR agency. So that's also, so I touched on building the product brands, the system, building the system for the product brands, which is, first it's product launch process, which we're have a lot of momentum in right now. Then it's brand launching, and then it's off Amazon scaling. And then off Amazon scaling is very significant because it's like, okay, Latin American countries, Asian countries, just like Shopify, like social media ad funnels, retail, scaling is a very general word, and we're going to do all of it. So, lost my train of thought. I'll pause. So in addition to focusing on the product launch to brand launch to product brand scale, we're also heavily invested into building our creative pod, which is going to later turn into a creative agency. That's a massive focus right now. Our product brands desperately need it, and then that's going to be used for our our PR agency. So the creative agency and the PR agency go hand in hand. The creative agency is basically the support, it's the asset creator, and the PR agency is like the strategy for how do we use those assets, what assets do we ask for creation in order to initially build Brandon, which again, guys, like I've reflected on this myself. I'm like, man, why do I really want to do this? Is there like an ego attachment to it? And it's like, no, fuck no. I don't really want to have a big name. Internally, like I'm an introvert. It's exhausting to me. Every time Charmaine makes this like awesome post, I get like hit up by like 15 Instagram DMs, and I'm like, fuck, I don't want to deal with this shit. So no, it's not that, but it needs to happen. I need to have a voice in order to make this whole thing happen. And then I may as well be the guinea pig, because ultimately now I'm going to be like really hands-on and really understanding PR agency and all that shit, and then I'm going to be able to help us really lead the way into making something so incredible it's better than any PR agency that currently exists. The other thing we actually really need to start this pretty soon. Designers that are interested in brand development, which I guess is Josh and Jason right now, we'll want to get Brand NOVAEO started really soon. Because that's even though that's not a personal, it's not an individual, it's still like a human brand. So we really want to get that rocking and rolling soon, and that'll be like the second thing that we do with our guinea pigging of the PR agency. Yeah, because what that'll do is that'll also allow for us to do PR for every other entity that we have inside the ecosystem, the brands themselves, as well as the creative agency and all that stuff. Like, how do we not just market them? I mean, PR is marketing, but it's like how do we frame it and build a perspective like in a positive light, which will be easy because we are going to be incredible people that are operating this stuff, and therefore our ideas and everything's going to be incredible. But how do we make sure that our authentic selves, because we are authentically awesome, how do we make sure our authentic selves are well communicated? That's the PR. So PR and social media are really tied very closely. I don't think we're even going to do separate entities. It probably makes sense for how that to be one. Where I'm a little confused right now is like, well, should that also be the creative agency itself? Because a lot of creative agencies do that. They also offer social media. I don't really have to figure that out quite yet. Right now, we're still building the team. We're still doing recruiting. We're still building the systems. And then we have immediate work that we need to do internally. So it's going to be a while before we're ready to take on clients. But anyway, that's more of the business side that I think I left out of that first video. So, and I think it's important that you guys understand that. Like, okay, how do we actually get this shit to $1 billion or more, significantly more? How are we able to afford private islands? It's because, we're going to get to a point where there's, like 500 businesses that are in this ecosystem. No bullshit, 500, maybe more. That's how we're going to do it. In like all market, all industry, all everything. Like I mentioned the government sourcing contract business. What the fuck is that? Well, because I'm a disabled veteran, it's going to be really easy for us to get U.S. government sourcing contracts. So you guys saw the movie War Dogs? That website that they use actually exists. So we can have people that just scroll through this website like twice a week, be like, yep, we can do that, we can do that, we can do that. We'll have people that are trained in how to do bidding. We'll win a lot of those contracts with our bids. And then it's a sourcing contract business. So, well, we already have a supply chain. Part of Project Phoenix started, a couple of years ago, is to make our supply chain more robust. With Derek and Daniel now like really focused on that. We're probably about 3 months away from having a super badass supply chain. And once we have that and we have the warehouse, now we can start taking on contracts like, okay, building first aid kits for the U.S. Army. U.S. Army says we need 300,000 first aid kits produced. Submit your bids. We do sourcing. We figure out what the cost of putting it together would be. Get a couple samples. Have our warehouse literally assemble some first aid kits. Figure out what our actual cost would be. Throw on our margin. Win the bid because I'm a disabled veteran, and then boom, one contract could be worth like $1 million. So how do we build that? Well, we're going to have a legal entity. So, we're going to build that. That'll get used. The supply chain, which will probably be tied to the manufacturing, so that'll get used. And then obviously like all business back end. So like it's going to use our accounting agency, the legal agency, like I said, all kinds of shit. You guys see how it's like, no matter how far off the wall some other industry or some other idea is, it's all going to string together to a few of those, like a brain, firing neurons between those nodes that I can't think of the word of. Does that explain it? I think so.